Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel Anita and I like to do videos about ADHD, my lifestyle, career, mental health, finance, just all types of stuff. So if you're interested in any of those, make sure to subscribe and also check out my Instagram for more, as I post a lot more personal things on there. Today we're going to be doing a video like answering questions on the previous video that I got. I had one video blow up. It was my ADHD story, and if you haven't watched that, definitely go watch that. I'll link it somewhere up here, but I also wanted to follow up because I got a lot of questions and a lot of repeat questions, and I just wanted to touch on a number of topics having to do with ADHD that just people had a lot of questions on, and it totally makes sense for them to have a lot of questions on. Some of the topics I'll be covering in this video is all the comorbidities that ADHD has. A lot of people with ADHD have depression, anxiety, sometimes they'll have autoimmune disease or just different disorders, PTSD, and I wanted to talk about treating these comorbidities before ADHD. Something else I wanted to talk about was non-medicine options that people can use, because there was a lot of people that were hesitant about taking medication or they didn't have access to medication. And so I wanted to talk about the supplements and things that I take personally that help me manage my symptoms, and just discuss those options with you. Maybe you can add them onto your medication or take them without your medication. And then I want to talk about my mood on medication and my mood off medication. I think that was really important. A lot of people had symptoms like it made them sleep all day or made them grumpy, it brought them problems, and I just want to talk about my experience and how the medication makes me feel, right? And then I wanted to talk about a few working with difficult providers or having a hard time getting an appointment, because that's also a common issue that a lot of people are facing. I think those were the main things I wanted to touch on, and also just like some other side effects, not side effects, but other symptoms of ADHD that are lesser known, but that I have found to be part of my life. And if you have any other questions, definitely comment down below. I can answer some during my vlogs that I do, or just other videos. And I also always respond to comments, so definitely leave a comment below if you have a question or if you want to share your experience. And yeah, so the first thing I want to talk about, I think, is the most important one. So treating comorbidities before ADHD. Now, this isn't like a hard and fast rule, but a lot of people with ADHD may also have a mood disorder, anxiety, depression, PTSD, just, you know, any of these things. And I personally ended up getting all of these things diagnosed and treated prior to getting treatment and diagnosis for ADHD. Now, I mentioned in my last video that I was distressed and disturbed that my ADHD had been diagnosed so late, and I wish it had been diagnosed earlier. But I will say I am so glad that I received treatment and was better for all of the other things before starting ADHD treatment, and because I think that's why the medication was so effective in my case. Now, here's why. First of all, a lot of the medications that they give for ADHD are stimulants. Stimulants can be addictive, and I personally am an addict. I'm an alcoholic, and so taking these kinds of medications can be worrisome. And maybe you don't have an addiction, but maybe you are predisposed, because a lot of people with ADHD also are addicts, and that's another comorbidity that is not well known. Now, again, I had PTSD, depression, anxiety, I have OCD, and receiving treatment for all of those put me in a great place to start medication. Receiving treatment for my depression, I'm on my medication. I've done thorough therapy for my issues. I did prolonged exposure therapy for my PTSD. I have anxiety med. I've managed my anxiety perfectly. And things were just super good. And so that put a perfect starting point for the medication, because when you take the medication, some people have anxiety symptoms because it's a stimulant. It makes you more stimulated. And so it can produce anxiety in people that don't have managed anxiety. It can produce feelings of, sometimes there's a come down on these medications, and during the come down, especially when you get started on the medication, you can feel really depressed and stressed out, and that will be exacerbated if you have untreated depression. And that's why I really think it's important to try to get these other things treated as well in tandem or before getting a diagnosis and treatment for ADHD. Because I feel like it could have been really easy for me to just develop a dependency on the medication if I hadn't had my addiction and alcoholism treated. And I feel like my anxiety would have been a lot worse, my side effects, had I not been on anxiety medication and learned how to manage my anxiety before. I have basically no symptoms on or side effects with my medication. And I think that is in large part due to my very intensive therapy that I have done and the medications that I'm on for the other issues. So I just wanted to mention that. I think it's really important for people to deal with their other issues before or in tandem with ADHD diagnoses and treatment. I think that's so important. I don't know. I was reading through so many comments and people were like, I feel really anxious on the medication. And then I ask, well, do you have anxiety? And they say, well, yes. And I'm not taking my medication. And so I'm like, girl, call your psychiatrist right now or your therapist, and you need to work on that. So yeah, I just wanted to talk about that. I think it's really important to deal with your comorbidities before you work on the ADHD. So that was the first thing that I wanted to mention. Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know if you don't agree with that. Let me know if you've done it differently or if you've done it this way or whatever. Obviously that's not going to work for everyone, but I just think that's the reason that I responded so well to the treatment for ADHD. Okay, so now medication, we talk about medication. Now medication isn't for everyone. First of all, you may not have liked it. Your side effects might have been too intense. Maybe you treated all these other things and you still have bad anxiety on the medication. Maybe it's making you forget to eat and so you've lost a lot of weight. Or maybe the come down is just too bad. Maybe you have one of those horrible side effects that people get on medication sometimes and it just didn't match your body. And you don't want to take medication. Now, you're still struggling, right? You're still feeling these symptoms. So I have some tips for you because I dealt with my symptoms for a long time without treatment. And I struggled a lot, but I try to find as many ways as possible to help myself live the best life I could. So I guess the non-medicine treatments that I advise for people, they're not just treatments, they're ideas, tips, and things like that. So first thing is nootropics. Nootropics, let's look up what it technically means. Drugs, supplements, and other substances that are claimed to improve cognitive function, particularly executive functions, attention, memory, creativity, or motivation in healthy individuals. Okay, we're not healthy, but these things, there's tons of studies on a lot of supplements, herbs, plants that have been shown to improve cognitive function in people. I would recommend looking up the Reddit nootropics. They have a very detailed list of options there, and I take them, and I've taken them for long before my medication. I get a lot of people in my comments in the last video being like, I would never take medication for my ADHD. Haven't you tried lion's mane? And I'm like, bitch, I've tried everything. I've tried literally everything, okay? Mind your business. But no, these things definitely work. Okay, so some examples are, well, a brand sponsored me a while ago, Magic Mind, and they have a drink that, they don't sponsor anymore, so this is just, but they have a drink that has a lot of really good things in it. They have lion's mane, curcumin, and other things, and these are all nootropics that are said to improve your cognitive function. So some examples of things that improve your cognitive function or have been studied to have done so include curcumin, which is in turmeric, lion's mane, which is a mushroom, blue light, so just blue light, L-theanine, ashwagandha, St. John's wort, omega-3, magnesium, vitamin D. Now, I take my medication, but I also still take some of these. I still take lion's mane, I still take curcumin, I take ashwagandha, omega-3, vitamin D, and magnesium. So I still take these. And that's an option for people who want to explore things that aren't like medical medication, pharmaceutical medication, sorry, that might provide some relief to you. Now, it's going to be very subtle. It's not going to be like you take a Ritalin and you're like ready to go. It's going to be very subtle. You have to take it for a long period of time, and bodies are complex and unique. It's not going to work for everyone. It may not do anything for you, but these are things that people have taken that have been shown in studies to work for people. Okay? Now, again, be hopeful. Having the thought, my brain is broken, is going to set you off on a bad day. So waking up every day and just being like, oh my God, my brain is broken. That's it for me. My day's ruined, is not a good way to start, because I think the brain is incredibly powerful. The mind is incredibly powerful, and the body keeps the score. If you've read that book, let me know. That book is amazing. I love that book. But the body keeps the score. And if your mind, if you're experiencing things, if you're telling yourself certain things, it can manifest in your body. People with mental health issues are more likely to have autoimmune conditions. You know, it just is. People with bad mental health have possibly symptoms physically. So we need to have a positive mindset every day. Try to wake up and try to think, my brain is a powerful tool, even though it has difficulties. Let's get something done today. Okay, so, and again, therapy would help with that a lot, I think. An app that now I'm thinking about that really helps me, it's called FINCH. Again, not sponsored by them. I did reach out. I was like, hello, FINCH, please help, you know? No, nothing from them, but I'm open. So FINCH is an app where, okay, I'm gonna go off on a tangent, an ADHD tangent. So I used to play Neopets as a kid, and I still have my Neopets and I still feed them. They are fed and well kept, and they are not dying, as is said when you don't feed your pets. My pets have been fed for 16 years, okay? So when I heard about FINCH, I was on Twitter, I was on an ADHD thread, and someone mentioned FINCH, and they said, this helps me with my ADHD. And I'm always looking for things to help me with my ADHD, because medicine helps, but it doesn't like solve all the problems. So I downloaded this app, and basically it's an app where you have a baby bird and you raise it and you take care of it by completing tasks that are helpful to you. So on my FINCH, there's this cute little baby bird, like a Neopet, I guess. And you have a list of items that you want to complete, just little tasks even, just get out of bed today, just things like that. And by completing those tasks and marking them off, you're able to create energy for your bird, and you're able to buy things for your bird and send them on adventures and teach them things about life and such. So I haven't marked any off today, but my goals for today are step outside of my home, drink water, make my bed. I'm gonna mark these off because I've done them. Put away one item that is not in its place, declutter one section of a room, wipe down my working surface, brush teeth, help Jake with one thing I don't want to do. So I am able to mark these off, and when I hit complete, it gives him energy, and then he's able to go on adventure. So that's my little beep bop, my little bird. And yeah, so I don't know why, but this did it for me, okay? I made my bed messily, but I made it every day since May. And that is absolutely insane. Now, my husband wouldn't agree. He doesn't think I've made my bed every day, because when I was visiting him back home, I made the bed every day, and then I was like, before I left, I was like, did you notice I made the bed every day? And he just was like, absolutely not, it looks like shit. And so I realized that I have a different definition of making my bed than him. But I have made my bed every day since May. Okay? So what I have discovered is that this app, for some reason, helps me to get things done. And it's without medication. It just makes I have an attachment to this bird. I want it to do well and be happy, and I'm gonna complete these little tasks. And it feels so good. And just doing one of these tasks helps me to do the rest. And then by the end of the day, when I mark everything complete, my little bird has learned something new. It makes me feel so good, okay? So just apps like that. I'm constantly trying new things to help with my symptoms. And yeah, non-medicine treatments do I provide for people. Something that a lot of people with ADHD deal with is object permanence. If we don't see an object in front of us, it just doesn't exist. It's an issue I've had with friends as well. If I don't see my friends, they don't exist. I'll forget to call them. Don't know when their birthday is, but like when they're near me and I can see them, I remember everything, and you know, I don't know, it's different. Or if I'm looking for, my husband hates my mess. I have stuff everywhere, but I know exactly where it is. And it's because it's laid out in front of me like a mess, but I can see where everything is. Now, if he puts it all in a box somewhere, I'm never gonna touch those things again. It's like they don't exist. And I mentioned in one of my other videos, I don't use a traditional dresser for my clothes in this apartment. I use one of those hanging shoe things, and I have my underwear, my bras in certain places. By seeing those things, it's just helps me so much to find my stuff easier. And so just using little things like that help make your life a little bit easier can help with your symptoms. Now, I wish I had a better answer for you. I wish I had something that wasn't medication that could just fix everything for you, but I don't, and I'm very sorry about that. I wish I did. But I hope that some of these suggestions help you. Again, please don't take anything. I'm not a doctor. Please do your own research, talk to your doctors. A lot of these nootropic supplements can affect your medication, so make sure to look into that before you add anything. And yeah, so I guess those are my non-medicine treatments for people. If you have any others, link them down below. There's also tons of TikTokers and other ADHD content creators who have made all these ideas. One of you in the comments sent me a video on Instagram, which you guys are totally open to do. Definitely send me a message on Instagram if you have a question and you want to connect. Sending me a TikTok video about someone who had like these scrunchies with little tags on them, and whenever they completed the task, they took it off and they put it back in a jar. Now that also has to do with object permanence. You remember to do the thing because it's attached to you. And so that's another good tip as well. So yeah, I would recommend that. Okay, other thing I wanted to talk about, the next thing is mood on medication versus off medication. I had some comments of people being afraid that the medication was going to change who they are. They wouldn't be so creative anymore. They wouldn't be the same person. What I have discovered is that on medication, I am more myself than I could ever be. I'm the person that I wished I was when I was lying in bed exhausted with my ADHD symptoms, just thinking like, I wish I could just do that. I can do those things now. And back when you have your symptoms of ADHD, and especially if it's, I guess, if it's an intensive type, you don't get things done. You have trouble with motivation, and that's depressing. Okay, that's really depressing. It can be very sad and lonely to not be able to do things that you want to do because of an issue that you just can't do it. I don't know, you just can't do it. And so when you're on the medication and you suddenly just do the dishes or whatever, like what you would have never done before, that feels good to get something done. Something that really helps me is what makes me personally happy. Now this is different for everyone, is being of service to others. And I learned this in Alcoholics Anonymous. I learned this in AA, and what I learned was that my happiness comes from being of service to others. I don't need anything in return, but as long as I'm helping other people, that is what brings me joy. And now that I'm on this medication, so my dad currently has pancreatic cancer, and I'm currently in California being a caretaker and helping with his business. And the best days that I have are the days where I take my medication, I get up, I do the dishes, maybe I sweep, I tidy the room for my little brother because he's living with me, and I go to the house and I help out and I take him to his doctor's appointments. Maybe I go to the grocery store because they need help. There's just a lot happening, and whenever I am productive and get these things done for other people, my day is just great. Like, that's what I have found helps me. So the medication will help you with your mood in that you won't feel like you're lazy or not doing anything or whatever. It will help you do things that will make you happy. Maybe what brings you joy is playing soccer. It might give you the energy that you need to go play soccer, and so you'll be happier. So I would say, like, it's not a mood enhancer itself, but it helps you to do the things that you want to do that make you happy. And I think that's so important to mention because, again, it's not going to just automatically fix your life. You have to take steps with the medication. You have to be willing to work with the medication to do better. Now, what I found is that off medication now, I get some symptoms back. I get tiredness back really hard. But my motivation is still kind of there. Like, if I really want to, I can get up and do the thing. So I had COVID this past week and a half, and I decided to take a break from my medication for tolerance reasons. I don't want to build up a tolerance too fast, but also because I was sick and I didn't need to, right? So I wanted to take a little break from it. And I found that there were some days that I was just as productive as with the medication. And it's because of behavior that I'd learned while I was on the medication. So on the medication, I learned, okay, I washed the dishes, now I'm just gonna put them away because that makes sense. I put them away, I dried them and I put them away instead of just leaving them there. And now when I'm off my medication, I'll be like, the dishes are there, I really don't want to do them. I would have never done them in the past. I would have just got sat on the couch, but suddenly I find myself doing them. And then suddenly I find myself being like, okay, of course I have to now put it in the cabinet. And so then I'll do that. So what I have found is that off medication, I am more productive than I was before ever starting medication, before ever starting for treatment. My mood is better because then I do those things and I get them done and I feel great because I was able to get some stuff done. Now, it's nothing near the same as when I'm on medication, but it's definitely better. I have learned behaviors. I have learned behaviors that I learned while on the medication that I can now bring into my regular life without medication. So that has been a win overall. I also don't find, some people say that once they get off medication, they find that their lives are way worse. I wouldn't say that. I would say it's exactly the same as it was before, and it's a reminder of how shit things were before I started medication. So yeah, some people are like, ADHD medications, like they wrecked me once I got off them, like I wasn't able to do anything. And for me personally, it's just exactly how it was before I got on medication. It sucks. I just sleep all day, it's hard, it's not, the pain's back, just everything associated with that. So that's what I'll say about that. If you have any questions on this section, definitely leave them below or let me know your own experiences. If you have a different experience, please share that because people need to hear different experiences than mine, and I'm just one person who people found online and they like to listen to, and that's it. And I'm not anyone special. We're all in here together. Okay, so the next thing I wanted to talk about was getting your doctor to give you a diagnosis. Now that can be incredibly difficult for people. The first things I would recommend is just very simply, if you're in America or if you have a doctor that you're already talking to, stick with that doctor. What helped me get my diagnosis so quickly and get treatment, I got it all within a month and a half from the beginning of when I first mentioned the possibility of me having ADHD, is that he knew me. He and I had been working together for about a year and a half on my PTSD, on my anxiety, on my depression, and he just knew who I was. And he knew that I was an alcoholic, and he knew my whole history, and that made it easier for us to move to ADHD, for him to believe me, for him to take me seriously, because he had seen my progress, he had seen my willingness to treat the other things, and he saw that I was still struggling. And I would say that that was very important in my receiving the care so quickly. Now, I didn't take a written assessment. He just had files from before that I had submitted, like other written files, and then he asked me some questions. But if your doctor's like, no, I don't think you have ADHD, ask them for a proper assessment. Like when you have the meeting and be like, oh, I don't know, I don't think it's ADHD, I think it's just anxiety. Maybe you should just try something for anxiety. My face just went like insane. Be like, you know what, actually, like I do think like maybe there's some anxiety there, but I would like a proper assessment. Can I have the ADHD test? Can I take that? I would just ask them straight up if you can take the assessment. And if they say no, be like, oh, okay, can you document that in your documents? Just so that it's documented that they refuse to give it to you. And if you really think that you have it, if you're working with them and you find that you're not responding to the anxiety or it's not fixing your problems, go find a second opinion. Now, I'm not saying to go doctor hop until someone gives you your prescription, because that's not good. You know, if you've talked to 3 doctors and they say you don't have ADHD and you take the assessments and they say you don't have ADHD, maybe you don't have ADHD. But go get a second opinion from someone, try to establish a relationship with them and express to them, listen, I have been having a really hard time. I don't think it's anxiety, I don't think it's this, or maybe I've had treatment for anxiety and I still have these symptoms. Can you please just test me for ADHD? Can I take the assessment? And hopefully they respond to you better. Knowing that there's a proper assessment that you can ask for may help you get the diagnosis easier. Okay? The next thing that I want to mention is, get a different opinion. If you're in America, there's an app called ZocDoc. I know that psychiatrists are really hard to come by sometimes, A proper psychiatrist will get you diagnosed. I use this thing called ZocDoc, and you're able to put in your insurance, and with your insurance, it finds you the providers in your area, and it literally lists their availability, and you can book on that app. So instead of calling to a bunch of offices, you can go into ZocDoc, log in, provide your insurance details, and see providers in your area, psychiatrists, therapists, OBGYNs, everything. I do all of my care on this app. And you can book directly. Now, there might not be something with your insurance for like 3 months, but there might be something this week or 2 months from now instead of like a year or whatever you're being told. So try that, I guess. Also, you can also call around and stuff, but yeah, my family just got here and corn pops barking. So yeah, I would recommend that. Now, if you're in a different country, I know that it can be a lot harder to get treatment, especially if you're like on socialized medicine. Now, I love socialized medicine, but I do know that it can be really hard for you to get treatment quickly because of wait times. What I have found, unless you have private insurance, totally not okay. We need to have safe, equitable healthcare for everyone, and that's just what I believe. Now, so some recommendations I would have is find other people who have had trouble getting their diagnosis or getting off waiting lists, and talk with them, ask questions, and ask them how they got theirs finally. Something I would recommend is looking up maybe like Reddit, getting an ADHD diagnosis, Sweden or Spain or whatever your country is. Now, there's going to be other people here who have experienced your difficulty, who haven't been able to get into an appointment, and maybe they have tips or tricks for helping you get that treatment that you need. So that's what I would recommend there. I am so sorry. I really wish that I could help you get a diagnosis faster. That's the tips I just wanted to share. I wanted to say that here because it's lost in the comments. Yeah, I would just try to find community with other people. Maybe they have tips for you in your country to getting you through faster. In the US, the tip I would give someone, let's say that the waiting list is really long, is asking to be called if there's a cancellation. Now, if there's a cancellation, sometimes they'll call you and be like, hey, we have an appointment today at 4. And that, I have found that has worked for me in some medical cases. And I don't know if there's anything similar in different countries. But if you find someone in a different country that maybe got seen quicker, that may help you. And again, if you've been on the waiting list forever and you finally have your appointment coming up, be firm. Do not let this appointment go to waste. If you really think you have ADHD, ask for that assessment, make sure you get it, and ask for treatment. You know, you have to be your biggest advocate yourself. That's what I have found. Okay, so that's what I think about that. I feel like those were the main points I wanted to cover. Some other fun things I just wanted to mention was some other issues I found that like are for my ADHD, my dog's like running around, is I feel like I have tics. And I found that some people with ADHD have tics, and I feel like I have vocal tics. I find that I repeat sayings and stuff really like a lot. Like this word, so there's some sayings I like the sound of, and I will just repeat them incessantly. Just so annoying, but I love it. Like during the California recall, Gavin Newsom was really popular, like everyone was talking about him. And I had been saying true and then truesome a lot. So around September, I could not stop saying truesome, Gavin Newsom to everything my husband said that I agreed with. And so I don't know if anyone else has like these tics where they repeat things. My brother, I don't think he has ADHD, he doesn't think he does, but he also has tics where he like repeats things all over. Like sometimes we'll come home and we just talk in tics to each other all day. He'll be like, hey Bernard, and I'll be like, hey Benicius. And then he'll be like, on God, and I'll be like, on God. And it's just nonsense, but we just, I don't know. Anyway, that was just a fun tidbit I wanted to add at the end. Do you have any tics or any weird ADHD symptoms that you didn't know were attributed to ADHD? Because I looked that up, and people with ADHD like to repeat phrases. Now, yeah, I think that's all I wanted to share today. I will be doing more videos on ADHD, but I'll also be doing videos on my own life. I want this channel to be not just about ADHD, but about myself and my experiences, because I feel like I have a lot to share regarding mental health and just living a good lifestyle. I will be doing a story on my alcoholism soon, because a lot of people with ADHD also experience addiction issues, and I think those are really important to resolve as well. So I'll be doing that soon, and then I want to go live. Let me know if you'd be interested in me going live. I don't have that many subscribers. I don't know why I'm even thinking to go live, but I feel like it'd be nice to have a discussion with people, answer their questions, you know, collaborate and just see what we can come up with around ADHD or mental health. I really want to build a community. I really love receiving your comments. Please comment even just to say hi or where you're from or your story with ADHD and why you're viewing my video. And I would also again recommend watching my Instagram following my Instagram? Follow my Instagram because I post a lot of stuff on there and I'm trying to grow that. And watch my ads. I recently got ads and now I'm making money on YouTube and it's like really exciting because I have 2 rents right now and because I'm taking care of my dad and family over here and it's expensive. So watch my ads. Okay, thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye.